Ooh, there we go. Now it's working. Hey, what is up? I wanted to share a story that I just read on Destructoid. It's a blog that somebody wrote, and it's about being an older gamer. And I wanted to share this with you. And I'm going to read the entire story. I like this so much, and I felt like it was a good story, and I'm actually going to read the foreword as well, because the person who posted on... like, on Destructoid, people can post their own blogs as well. I used to do this. I used to do that as well on IGN, GameSpot, Destructoid, like several different websites. I also worked for a couple websites. But I used to do these blogs as well. And sometimes when the editors of the website and stuff like that, the admins, they come across like a really good story, they'll repost it as an official story kind of a thing on the main website kind of a thing. And this is one of those. So I wanted to share it. If you don't want to hear me read the story to you, the link will be in the description. So go ahead and click on that. I may offer a little bit of my own opinion here in between, whatever. But if you just want to go read the story, I definitely recommend it, or else I would be making a video to read it to you. So this is a story by a person who goes by the name NakedBigBoss. The title is, "When is it time to stop gaming? A look at the struggles of being an older gamer." And I thought this was interesting because I am an older gamer, so I thought this would be cool to read. I will skip the foreword. Older but wiser. I was at home playing video games due to a storm number 100 hitting the northeast of the United States, and my job closing for the day. As I was sitting comfortably on the couch playing Jak and Daxter on my PS4 because nostalgia is quite a powerful drug, I was suddenly deeply saddened that I never had this kind of time to game. Looking at my various systems and the collection of played and unplayed titles that accompany them, I had a moment where I seriously asked myself, is it time to hang up the controllers and say goodbye? Pondering this, I began to question how I got to this point in my gaming life. One of the major differences between child NakedBigBoss and adult NakedBigBoss is that 33-year-old me has a 9-to-5 job. On top of that, my commute to work involves a 2-hour train ride going to and a 2-hour train ride coming back from my place of employment. Getting some gaming time in during travel is touch and go. New York's MTA is constantly fucking up, which means I rarely play with headphones on because I want to be able to hear any announcements, and there are quite a few times when people will be singing loudly or playing high volume music when I'm trying to concentrate. By the time I come home, I just want to eat dinner and relax with my partner. This gives me an hour or two to game before I need to go to bed. Staying up any later messes up my sleep pattern. Sorry. Which causes me to doze off on the train the next day. This happens quite often due to me getting sucked in and wanting to play more than I realistically can. Yep. So I'll stay up a lot later playing games and stuff. Continuing. Contrast my current job-having life to my free from the shackles of capitalism childhood one, and the difference is night and day. Kid me only had to worry about going to school for a few hours, and from elementary all the way to college, my commute was never more than 15 minutes. This meant I could game for hours. Was there time to find all the secret exits in Super Mario World? Absolutely. Was a landline available that would allow me to call the experts at Nintendo about all the power-ups in Mega Man X3 while charging my parents a large sum of money on their phone bill? No doubt. Would I be able to spend a week in Final Fantasy VII making chocobos have hot sex with each other in order to obtain the legendary gold chocobo? Without question. I did that too. Could I rent games from a video store, remember those? And play on someone else's Super Metroid file that got further than me because I got stuck and there was no internet to help me? Of course. I'm gonna break in. No internet. My gosh. Those were the times. No internet. Continuing on. Man, that's pretty crazy. I always saved my homework until the last minute because I work well under pressure, which meant more time for video games. My dad made decent money, so I'd always get games from him around the holidays or special occasions. My brother was born 10 years after me, so I was spoiled up to that point. There was all the time in the world to conquer every game I obtained. Life was good. I remember that. As I got older, I realized that not only was I changing, but the games I was playing were too. Outside of RPGs, games were never overly long. Then this shit happened. GTA 3. The arrival of GTA 3 coincided with me becoming an older teenager, and suddenly things weren't the same anymore. High school demanded more of my attention than grade school, so there was less time to game. My brother's birth meant the days of being spoiled were over. Gifts became few and far between, so I had to work part-time at a pharmacy in order to afford video games. And GTA 3 ushered in a wave of open-world games. There was just so much stuff to do and collect, and the completionist in me struggled to coexist with the responsibilities of real-life adulthood. I was still content with gaming until college, when the real struggle began. Getting my bachelor's degree in English became priority number one, which meant more time was needed for reading and writing, leaving less time for gaming pleasure. After I got a part-time job at my school doing transfer credit evaluations while studying for my classes, that time for leisure decreased even more. And what happened soon after obtaining my degree? Love. Yay! I'm happy for this guy for that, because that's awesome. Continuing. Indeed, I fell for one of my coworkers, and I've been with them for over 6 years now. Luckily, they game too. Though they're younger, I grew up with Halo attitude, clashes with my older Mario platformers forever philosophy. I love that part. That's my favorite paragraph. If I thought gaming was only changing due to the onslaught of open world titles, then the arrival of DLC, expansions, season passes, microtransactions, and remasters, remade ports made my head spin. Sure, working part-time and then eventually full-time gave me the resources to buy games and their DLC without much issue, but I became jaded with the gaming industry as a whole. Games started to feel shorter, with parts of them feeling cut out to sell as DLC at a later date, for sometimes within weeks of the same game's release. Large titles like Assassin's Creed felt bloated with samey side missions and numerous collectibles to obtain. Sequels and remasters became more frequent. Greedy companies like EA took incredible new IPs I loved, like Dead Space, and injected them with microtransactions, making it all too easy to feel like scavenging for weapon parts was becoming a chore, and that paying for resources wouldn't be so bad because it made it faster to craft weapons. More than anything else, I started to feel that sense of gaming wonder diminish in my heart. Gaming became constrained due to real-life commitments. More money meant more bills to pay, which meant being more conscious of what games I could afford. Sales helped me feel happier about being able to grab titles I hadn't checked out yet, but this only added to the backlog that I already don't have enough time in my life to complete. Seeing companies I once revered like Capcom and Konami become money hungry hurt my childhood retroactively. I was still keeping up with new game releases and consoles, but it was hard to ward off feelings of becoming an old, bitter gamer. But, as with any bit of darkness, there is light. Kingdom Hearts taught me that. Nintendo still manages throughout my lifetime to make me smile. The Switch is one of my new favorite things in the universe. Super Mario Odyssey made me feel a joy I hadn't felt since Super Mario 64. I swear to you, there were moments in that game where I cried. Though they have their own issues with locking content behind amiibo figures, I can get costumes and stickers in Odyssey using coins I find in the actual game. I guarantee you, if it was any other company besides Nintendo, that shit would never have been a part of a pre-order incentive or DLC. I'm so grateful Nintendo still exists and is doing well as a company. And real quick, I'm going to break in. Super Mario Odyssey is right now my favorite game of all time. It was just so good. Back to the story, continuing. Well, I mentioned Kingdom Hearts. There's a new game in the series coming out this year, God willing. Here's a fun fact. There's been a numbered entry in the series released at such different points in my life. KH released when I was 17, KH2 launched when I was 20, and KH3 arriving in my 33rd year upon this earth. Yeah, there are 1,000 spin-offs and the story is more convoluted than the Metal Gear series, but it's Final Fantasy and Disney combined. Whoever thought that would work, let alone be successful? God, I'm so pumped. I remember that too, breaking in. When Kingdom Hearts came out, when they announced it, I was like, Disney and Squaresoft? Like, I loved Squaresoft at the time. Loved them. Final Fantasy, amazing. And I was like, I don't know about it being Disneyfied, but it worked. It worked really good. Kingdom Hearts was super cool. Back to the story. Ooh. Remember when I said I was dismayed at Capcom? I kind of am, but holy shit, they're remaking Resident Evil 2. Yeah, that's the first RE game I ever played. They remade the first game not too long ago, and it was so good. Jeez, I must have played that so much that the mansion map is forever imprinted in my brain. And did you know they made Resident Evil 7 last year? That game brought the series back to its roots and legit terrified me that the last game in the series to do that was Resident Evil 6 for different reasons. I played the demo countless times looking for secrets before launch, and then I got all the unlockable items in the game. Circular Saw. And I'm breaking into Resident Evil. The way he talks about it, I must have played that so much the mansion map is forever imprinted in my brain. That's how I played on the PlayStation. The original Resident Evil, I played it so much that I just knew every little thing, everything. I played the crap out of it. Loved that game. Continuing. What's that? Oh yeah, I guess I am getting a bit excited. So there's hope for Jaded, Cynical me. There are still bright spots in the video game landscape. And my partner wants to raise gaming babies and teach them everything we know. Well, that's encouraging. Well, in that case, I won't hang up my controllers just yet. And that's the whole story. So the last couple paragraphs are kind of him like rambling about the new games that he's excited for, which is really cool. But up until that point, I really loved the part about how the gaming industry has changed and how games have changed over the years. And one thing he did point out, how games seem shorter these days. It really depends on the game. There were games out on Genesis and Super Nintendo and Nintendo that were short. The main difference being checkpoints. Back then, you had to play a game from start to finish, and there were no checkpoints. So if you died, you had to start all over again. That's why the replay value was there. But it wasn't like nowadays. I don't think of replay value like that. I don't think a game has replay value because it forces you to replay it over and over again. Because if you die, you have to start from the beginning. So if it's a 5-hour game, but you die on your 4.5 hours into the game and have to start all over again, that to me isn't replay value. If the game's enjoyable, I'm not saying it isn't fun. Like I grew up with that stuff, but I'm just saying that there were short games back then. The difference was you couldn't just finish them because you had to play them all the way through. So I see that argument a lot from people nowadays that are comparing new games to old games, talking about how they're shorter now, and it really just depends on the game. So I can see it, but I also don't fully agree. But I thought this was a beautiful story, man. I actually brought tears to my eyes because I could feel the same way. And I'll read the foreword, because this is what made me. I was like, really? So this is the foreword. This is by, I think, an editor. His name is Wes, who wrote this real quick. Every now and again, a blog comes around that hits so close to home for me that it feels like I could have written it verbatim had I been given the prompt. This is one of them. NakedBigBoss talks about how gaming and his perception of it has changed throughout the years, and not always for the better. But like any good story, there's still a light at the end of the tunnel for aging gamers like us. Give this a read and chip in below to tell us if he strikes any similar chords for you. And when I read that, I was like, all right. And I had a feeling I would be able to relate to it. Being an older gamer, it's just something I've wanted to talk about for a long time, a couple years now, and I just I've not gotten around to it. And I would have like my own, take on it and throw out stuff, but because it's been something I've been wanting to talk about. I've been wanting to, because I've had, throughout the years of streaming, I've had a younger audience, and I've just wanted to talk to them about it, because I sometimes when I'm streaming, I'll bring it up. Well, it'll be a little conversation. I'll be like, it's weird being older. It's weird. It's definitely different, easily noticeable. You still feel like yourself. Like I don't feel like I'm some other person, but it's definitely different, So it's very interesting, and it's kind of cool too. So, anyways. There were a couple points when I was reading them too. I was planning to break through because I read this once before starting the video, and then I was like, I was thinking there was a couple things I wanted to note on when I read through it. But then as I read through it, I didn't really want to interrupt. Just in my brain while I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah. So there was a couple things, like the Super Mario Odyssey is my favorite game of all time. I did a review of it, a really quick one. I think lately I'm trying to keep my videos shorter. I know this one's gonna be a little bit long. And I know I have a few videos lately. I'm trying to keep them at a max of 6 minutes. A max, like 3 to 6 minutes. It doesn't always work out though. Still running that 10-minute length, Anyways, so I wanted to share this story. Thanks for coming and joining me for this story. Right now, I just wanted to read that and share it. I agree with a lot of what was said, especially one of my besides the part of where he falls in love, which is I'm happy for this dude. That's really cool. And he got to get with a girl that's also a gamer, so that's super cool. But the part about where Nintendo with the costumes in the game, you can unlock them in the game, and if it was some other company, it would have been pre-order bonuses or DLC microtransactions. But it's Nintendo. But that's not to say Nintendo doesn't do that stuff. Nintendo is also, more and more over the past couple years since Wii U, I think. Since Wii U, we've seen more and more DLC coming from them. But overall, they're still way better than every other company out there at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised in 5 more years if we see Nintendo doing the same shit that everybody else is doing. I hope not. Oh my gosh, I hope not. But I would not be surprised. Not the way the direction has been going. That's why I wouldn't be surprised. The more and more DLC that they keep pumping out. So, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But, you know, just for me, that's a whole nother video. Talking about DLC and microtransactions. Anyways, I hope you guys have a lovely day. You guys, I always say you guys. I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.